It's going.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What is a past life regression? Past life regression is a therapy that I use in my hypnotherapy practice to help people understand their problems from a different perspective. Imagine watching yourself, but in a different body, performing the same problems and challenges that you have in this life, but in a much more dramatic way. It's like flipping through a book or watching a movie. You're put into a deep state of hypnosis, and from there, you see all of your problems play out in a way that makes sense to your subconscious mind. Past life regression therapy doesn't require your belief in a past life or karma or the soul. It's not a spiritual therapy, although it can be. I personally believe in past lives, but that's still a belief. It doesn't affect the quality of the therapy. In essence, when you are witnessing, your subconscious is witnessing yourself, your soul self, your parallel self in a different form. Most of the time it's dramatic and very exciting because it oftentimes is something that we have resonated with as kids. Ancient Egypt, Viking warriors, Native Americans, cowboys, you name it. We see ourselves battling the same problems, taking on the same challenges, but in a much more dramatic landscape. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between reality and fiction, so when we can see our problems play out, see what happens, see how they unfold, our relationships with other people, our subconscious recognizes the patterns and regulates them in this life. It's a very beneficial therapy for anyone who is struggling with grief or trauma. It's also just exciting to see what your subconscious might want to show you, but the therapy aspect of a past life regression is much more than just the fun knowledge of maybe who you were in a past life. The subconscious is never trying to hurt you, it's only trying to help. And by showing you things, showing you symbols and metaphors and parallel relationships, parallel situations, the therapy is helpful and beneficial. And as a hypnotherapist, I help guide the client through understanding the parallels. It truly is such a wonderful therapy to include in your journey towards wellness. It's exciting, it's vivid, it entices the imagination, and I offer that with my practice specifically pertaining to grief or guilt after a loved one has passed away. I can do both in-person sessions at my lovely home in Snow Creek, or I can do over Zoom. I offer an art therapy as a preamble to a past life regression to kind of stimulate the imagination. I have a beautiful home studio in which all of the arts and crafts supplies, paints, you name it, are available to you to kind of rev up the mind. I strongly believe in this therapy because when I was 31, 32, my mother passed away, and it was pretty heartbreaking, to be honest. It was rather sudden. She died of cirrhosis. She went into the hospital in the beginning of December and came out on New Year's and died a few days later. It was during COVID and not many people got to visit her, and her cognition was scattered at best, so any sort of last minute conversations I wanted to have with her were kind of limited. My mother, her name is Tammy, Tammy had a really, really great sense of humor, and she was very naughty, as they say, but she treated me a little bit differently than my other sisters insofar as she would say stuff like, if I ever get too decrepit or can't wipe my own butt, you have to take me out to the pasture and just shoot me, or you got to be the one to pull the plug, things of that nature. And I've since asked my other sisters if they had been given the same request, and they said no. And I knew that my mom was serious about it, although in her kind of dark humor, I kind of brushed it off. However, when she was in hospice, dying, and she wasn't able to take care of herself at all, I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt on top of the sadness and the impending grief that was going to happen after she passed. I said goodbye to my mom, and my little sister, who is a hospice nurse, gave her a shot of morphine that I think eventually sent her to the other side. I wasn't with her in her last moments, but I was trying to find consolation in the few brief moments of clarity that I had with her. Naturally, I was very sad, and I felt this intense feeling of abandonment, and I couldn't place it because my mother was so supportive, so very much a part of my life, that there's no way a rational mind would think that she was abandoning or orphaning me, but something was hanging inside. It wasn't until I did a past life regression on YouTube, actually, with this amazing hypnotherapist. I can't even remember her name. I should try to find it. But what happened was incredible. I went deep into state. I happened to be a somnambulist, so I hypnotized very easily. I went deep into state, and what I saw play out like a beautiful movie in front of me was very interesting, to say the least. I woke up, as they put it, in 1890 French-occupied Algeria. I was an orphaned French girl. I was about 5 or 8 or something. And I was adopted by this single lady who owned this big mansion. She was kind of mean. She treated me kind of like the help. But I was her daughter. Flash forward a couple of years, and she's grabbing me by the shoulders and shaking me violently, yelling at me, asking me that I need to help her, that she knew I was a little witch, and that I had the potion that would help her die easily, because she had been diagnosed with a very, very intense disease that was going to kill her very slowly and painfully. So she asked me to end it quick. And I did. The past life went on to other things, of course. I saw some marriages and miscarriages and all sorts of stuff. But what came out of the therapy for me was I had already done this great deed of ending somebody's life that brought me into this world or cared for me like a mother. It's not a common experience to have someone ask you to do that for you, but it's common enough that I think people can resonate with the story. The therapy relieved my guilt. I was no longer saddened or stricken by grief even. I was able to see that, one, I'm not my mother's only daughter, and my sister, who was a hospice nurse, got the honor of sending my mother to the other side this lifetime, and that I should be proud and honor her for that. With or without the belief that the soul has a multitude of pillars or challenges or levels of humanism to complete before we evolve or ascend off of this plane, which is a beautiful thought, but it's not necessary for the therapy to work, because my subconscious understood that I had already done that for somebody. That the guilt I was experiencing was unplaced because I actually had taken care of that. I did make the potion and I did do as my mother asked me to. Because once again, the subconscious does not know the difference between reality and fiction. So now, my reasonable, rational mind and my subconscious mind were in alignment, and I was able to move forward without feeling sorry for myself, which is a terrible place that grief and guilt often stem from. And from there, I was actually able to communicate with my mother and connect with her in a way that I was so profoundly moved by that I decided to go to hypnotherapy school. After being in HMI and studying under Lisa Mackenberg, who's my mentor and past life therapy genius, I learned so much that I wanted to integrate it into my practice as something beneficial for so many things, but especially for the grief of losing a parent or losing anyone that's close to you if there are unresolved issues. Like I said, I was able to communicate with my mother, and I see her frequently in my mind. She leaves me all sorts of kernels of amazing information, advice, care, love. We communicate in a way that wasn't healthy or able to while she was alive. And it would be a great honor, the greatest, if I could help somebody experience that level of closure and a reframing of a sad situation. It would be a complete honor. And I hope that after watching this, you consider past life regression therapy as a part of your wellness journey. And I would be glad to answer any questions. I'm Shyeanne Powers. Thank you for watching. I'm done. I don't know how to turn it off.